So there was an article about how Nintendo will respond with the arrival of the PlayStation 5 and new Xbox Series X next year, and whether or not the console's power will make a difference in third-party games coming to the platform. If you've noticed recently, there's a lot of popular games that have moved onto the Nintendo Switch, and that's in turn given people who own Nintendo Switches the ability to play a lot of other games that are not Nintendo franchises, that are not exclusive to the Nintendo platform, to try those games. And even though the Nintendo Switch is a less powerful machine than either the PlayStation 4 or even the Xbox One now, it's still great that they get the option to play those games. But the question here is, what will Nintendo do if they're going to continue to support the Switch and release, a Nintendo Lite version? How are they going to compete with these more powerful consoles when these new games are just not going to be able to be ported over to the Nintendo Switch, and therefore the people that own these Nintendos will not be able to play them? I think Nintendo will do just fine. The real strength of Nintendo is that they've got those franchises of games like Mario, Super Smash Brothers. They have these characters in these franchises that are just, this is what people want from Nintendo, right? It is really their strong suit. And when you buy a Nintendo, you're buying a Nintendo not to play third-party games from other developers that are not under Nintendo's umbrella. You're buying it to experience the games that Nintendo's putting out, like Zelda and Pokemon. These games are really what are the major sellers for Nintendo and what their fans ultimately really want. And they're honestly really great games. They're fun, they're simple, they're nostalgic, and they've really been able to innovate on a few titles, especially Mario in the last couple years, to where they're making them fresh but still have that nostalgic feeling to them, and they're still fun, addictive, colorful. They're just great games. So I think with the new powerful consoles coming out, it might affect Nintendo a little bit, but in the long run, Nintendo is just poised for success. They've got some of the biggest franchises of any media group in the world, including Pokemon and Mario. They're just huge entities that make tons of money, and Nintendo is set, right? They have got the rights to those, and they're going to continue to pump out content surrounding those characters and those games, and that's really all they need. I think just the icing on the cake is getting Call of Duty ported over to the Switch. Like, yeah, that's cool, that's awesome, it's great to have that option available if you do have a Nintendo Switch, but at the end of the day, that's not why you have a Nintendo Switch. That's not why you bought it. You bought it for the Nintendo games. So I think long run, Nintendo's going to be just fine. PlayStation 5 and Xbox, they're going to do their own thing. Nintendo doesn't need the power of their console, right? And that seems to be the biggest thing that is debated here, is that Nintendo just needs to come out with a powerhouse of a console. It's got all the RAM, it's got the latest and greatest graphics card. I don't think Nintendo needs that, because I think their games don't require that. What really sells and what is popular and what is fun on their platform is these games that are more simple. They don't require all this data, all this processing power. They really don't need to release something that's going to be so uber expensive just to get their games that they release up to par with the newer releases of AAA titles, because their games don't require that, right? I don't need Mario to look super realistic. I don't need any Nintendo game to look super realistic. I want it to be cartoony. I want it to be colorful. I want it to be fun. I want it to be really unique. And the other thing is, Nintendo is just great at making handheld consoles, which is really hard to make super powerful. The Xbox and the PlayStation have the advantage. that they don't have, that their consoles are not handhelds. It's just a box that sits in your room. Nintendo has been able to actually put a decent amount of power into something that you can carry around with you, that is not too bulky, but can still, deliver a great experience. And Nintendo is also great at just creating unique experiences. Look at the Nintendo Wii. That took the world by storm, and it's still a super cool console. And they did the Wii better than the PlayStation Move or the Xbox Kinect. How they could ever do it. They mastered it. They nailed it, and they did it better than these competitors. Yeah, I think Nintendo's strengths are just not in the power of their console. And they don't really need to be too worried about catching up or being on par with the other competitors, because they're honestly, more than anything, something kind of on their own, and they'll continue to thrive. So as always, let me know what you think in the comments down below, where you think Nintendo is positioned. Do you think that they are doing well, and that you don't think they really need to drastically update their performance of their machines? Do you think that the possibility of third-party games starting to leave or not trickle in as often as they do into Nintendo be a problem? Would that be a problem to you? Let me know, and as always, like, subscribe, and that's it.